upright, and you can also sit with your legs out in front, okay? So don't harm your knees, remember to look after yourself. So meanwhile, just keep rolling out those shoulders and let the spine start to ripple through as well. Now, many of us, of course, will be seated in our cross-legged position. And if we are, that's also a lovely way of just elegantly opening the hips. So after rolling your shoulders, maybe hands beside you on the knees, just start to circle the body. Remember that we're going to be spending time in the month of November with the idea that yoga and movement and healthy movement can be very nourishing to your soul, to your mind, to your breath, to your emotions. So sometimes your movements can be much smaller, and sometimes you want them to be bigger. So notice that there is no real need to be absolutely perfect in how you are sensing these moves, just that it's a good idea to embody and inhabit your practice and find that you can move in ways that introduce your body to familiar movements and poses that we know and love, and also to challenging movements now and then that bring your minds to more focus. So tonight's practice is going to, as I say, begin with just loosening up around the shoulders, the torso and the hips. And then we're going to be going into supine and using Supta Padangusthasana. So if you happen to be near a wall, or you've got a skirting board near you, either a wall with skirting board and no furniture in the way, or you might have a chair or a sofa you can push your foot onto. It can be helpful for the practice when we come to the leg extensions. Okay, noting whether you've got your right or left leg in front if you're sitting cross-legged, and then reach up and over into side opening, and the other way. And if you're free and you can move faster, then do so. And then we'll go forward and back. So I'm going to take the right hand back and lean back. And then bring the left hand forward, almost like a seesaw. It's like a circular action. Going back and then flowing forward. And remember to breathe. Then center. You want to cross the legs the other way, just so we remember to do that if we have got cross legs. And then I'm going to take the left hand back, lean back, bring the right palm forward and down. Flow the arm over the shoulder if you can. Flow backwards and forwards. And it's kind of nice to feel like, having gone into circles, we're finding almost that seesaw action. Forward and back. Let's come round onto all fours. And on the way to all fours, send the buttocks towards the feet. Elongate into child's pose. And then draw yourself up into all fours. Press the palms under the shoulders. I'm going to give your hips a little sway left and right. And then grounding through the palms, exhale into cat pose. And then breathing in, yoga cow pose. And I'm actually bending the elbows as well. I'm just trying to get some space across the collarbones. Exhaling, yoga cat. And inhaling cow pose. And of course, you really want to look up and open up your throat. Then also add that into your practice. But lately I've been exploring a narrower pose. So I would invite you now to bring your knees much closer to your wrists and even create fists with the knuckles. And then rounding here and find how that feels in your body. Do you feel, as I do, that it can give quite another extra way of just elongating through the lumbar as you draw up through the pelvic floor and the core muscles. So finding that sort of skinnier cat move can be good. And also we've been looking a little bit at the staggered leg position. So I'm going to slide my right knee forward and slide the left leg back. Arrange the wrists below the shoulders and then come into a back bend. So draw the shoulder blades down towards the hips. Arcing the spine on the in-breath and rounding the upper shoulders on the out-breath. And you'll find that with the staggered legs, that can be quite helpful to stuck areas of your spine. Let's maybe bring the other leg in and slide back. So now bring the left leg forward, sliding the right leg back. Same action. Draw up and broaden the chest on the inhale. And then exhale, pressing around. You can come up onto the fingertips if you prefer, or again, have the palms pressing below the shoulders. We're going to walk the hands now to the front of the yoga mat and just press back into plank. Push the earth away and really find that you hug up through the midline and then lift the hips higher, walk the feet in and find yoga dog, downface dog, or your version, and press out through all four corners, hands, feet, maybe bend the knees. And how does it feel to stay in your downface dog for a couple more breaths, or at least you might want to let the knees come down, maybe even let the elbows come down, and just move through those poses perhaps once or twice more. So maybe elongate from child's pose, draw up into yoga plank, kumbhakasana, pause here, crown away from tail, inhale, exhale, pull the hips up, and you probably might have to adjust through your feet. Press away and feel energized by a downface dog. And then maybe again, knees down, child's pose. One more round, plank, down dog, shake out the head and neck, and then releasing to pose of child. And then as you come to high kneeling or just kneeling pose, slide your legs around. Scooch the buttocks down towards the feet. And it's at this point, if you have a yoga belt, make sure it's near you. So take hold of the belt and get that near you. And from sitting with the knees high and the feet pressing in line with the sit bones, bring your arms forward and then curl the tailbone under. See if you can just lower your spine, almost segment by segment. So this just helps us come into a little bit of that centered strength in the core. So lowering down. And once you've released your body, lay your arms out and let each thigh just fold into the chest. But you don't have to hug and tug yet. You can just let those legs fall into your body. And start to breathe in and out as you roll the legs left and right. Now that rolling of your legs can be very, very gentle. Or you might find as you sort of pin your arms down that you want your legs to tip all the way over to the right and land on the mat and keep the shoulders broad. And then you want to hug in and bring the legs all the way over to the left. So could you find for me, please, just a few more of those beautiful sort of floor twist actions rolling the pelvis, giving yourself a lovely massage across the back and the sacrum. I'm quoting from one of the restorative yoga masters. She talks about yielding as being about giving your weight to the earth, so releasing down and surrendering your torso to the earth enough so that you feel supported and you can receive that support. So for all of us in practice, when we yield the torso and we spread the bones and the tissues, it starts to invite a really lovely sense of relaxation into the body and the breath. And that's what we need for this next pose. We really need to feel that sense of the earth supporting the body. Now we'll start the pose here in the semi-supine with the body nice and broad. Let's fold the right thigh into the chest, and then as you lengthen the leg, maybe the leg comes up towards the sky or towards the front of the mat there, and then flex your heel, point your foot and circle the ankle. So flex. So the toes spread towards you, you'll feel the eye of the back of the knee, but can you let the bones just descend down? So it's really important that your pelvis is level and that you haven't pushed through this left foot and lifted the buttock bones. So let everything spread out really well. And if your leg can come, as many of us can, so in the group tonight, there's many of you which will, I know you'll be able to allow that leg to be super strong, and then commonly we would take the tails of the yoga belt around the ball of the foot. But I want to offer you this option. If you do have the wall near you, near your practice mat, and I'm at an angle to film this class, but you will want to be able to level off so that the ankle, the knee and the hip is in line. Then of course you can come into more of the fullness of the pose by having the split leg position with the lower leg really anchored into the wall. Some of us have got that left leg bent with the foot flat. So please find the best position for your practice right now. Possibly it would be lovely also to reach the right hand up around the yoga belt, especially if you want that long arm version. And then settle down. So some of us reaching up towards the right foot through the yoga belt, and some of us maybe coming down to the tail ends of the belt, resting the elbows down. Being aware of the inner seam of the legs, but also this sense of really dropping down into a deep softening of breath, body and mind. And you may even want to close your eyes. Are you capable of breathing in and out with full concentration? Just allowing the breath in and breath out. Maybe count one breath cycle and inhale, exhale. Maybe count two. Some of us might feel we want to bend the knee and then just come back into that grounded action. And some of us might want to bring that leg further in. So, you know, really seeking out the sweet spots of your practice. So maybe 3 to 5 breath cycles here. You'll have already experienced several breaths. Remember that many of you can also choose to bend the left knee and rest the left foot on the earth. If you're going for full pose, we'll go into the second stage of the pose now. So make sure you're very grounded through left hip, knee bend, foot flat, or that extended leg. Draw the right leg now out to the right. As you draw the leg out to the right, maybe your elbow lands on the earth. If you have your yoga block nearby, you can place it underneath, of course, your leg, calf muscle or foot. And you can be superbly supported. But if you go too far and that right leg draws over and lands on the earth, you're going to maybe lift the left buttock away, and that's not the point. The point is to stay very grounded and yielding and surrendering down through the earth as you widen out through that right leg. Push the heel away or soften the knee. Sometimes it's quite nice to roll the head and neck away from the extended leg. So maybe surrender to the earth again, spreading out. Breathe in and out, soften the mouth and jaw, soften the eyes or look up to the sky. And then when you're ready, draw that leg back to center. Let's swap hands. Bring the left hand around the tails of the belt. Or if you don't have a belt, you're just guiding the leg and you're going to bend that knee. And then as the leg comes across the body, so the right leg coming over to the left side, you can make sure that that foot is still pressing into the wall with the toes going up towards the sky. Or you can roll onto your left hip and lay the chest open in opposition. It's this right rib basket and the rib cage on the right that's moving over to the right side. Some of you might prefer to push that right leg into the belt as you flex out through the heel, and you find this very strong extended tonality on your right hip and thigh, moving into the elongation perhaps of the iliotibial band. So can you allow that pose to develop for maybe 2 more rounds of breath in the twisted version of the pose. And then release back to center. And maybe once again you might want to hug knees in, and you can let the legs come in as you hold them in, or you can let the legs come in and your arms can be relaxed. Let's inhale, exhale here, curl up. Take hold of shins, back the thighs or the feet. Curling into Apanasana. And please offer that to yourself possibly 3 or 4 times more. When we find poses that bring us into the embryo shape, they are said to be very comforting and very calming. So if that's something that resonates with you, then curl up into that little ball and enjoy that feeling of your whole spine and your back, the left and right sides of the back just spreading out through Mother Earth. For me, that also gives a lovely opportunity to draw a little circle on the earth. So after 4 or 5, Apanasana, maybe just gather the legs and stir that circle around. And in preparation for your second part of the practice of the single 3-way leg stretch known as Supta Padangusthasana, so centering now, finding that your pelvis is level, and then float or bend the left thigh into the chest, extend the leg, and if you need to bend and reach a few times, that's helpful to you, do so. If you also want to circle your hip, feels good. I want to try a little bit of hip maneuvering there. Now, remember that if you're feeling tight and stiff, be compassionate, honour that, and just let yourself move in softer ways. So we're going to push the leg into a stronger position now though. So press up through the heel, point the foot, flex, point, flex. If the leg is at a different angle, that's fine, try not to strain. And then stir the ankle, have a look at it. Does it circle well? And if we're using belt, loop the belt round. Or you can hold the leg with your own hands or grab a bit of your trouser. So we've got the 2 tails of the belt coming down as traditionally we would. Or you can, of course, use your D-ring. So if you've got a loop in your yoga belt, pop that around the ball of the foot. And you just have your D-ring. So I'm going to make sure, if I was in my home practice, I would be pressing my foot into the skirt board now and using that strong anchor of the wall to find that split leg position. But, you know, many of us would be much better off with the right leg soft and just the left leg in its fullness. So as you lay in pose here, and maybe close your eyes in the first aspect of the pose, can you let go of your day? Can you please be friendly to your body and sort of form a cooperative alliance with yourself? You know, so often in our working day or in our family lives or in our roles as friends and mothers and sisters and nieces and aunties and co-workers and leaders in business or whatever else we're doing, and as creators, we have this huge demand placed on our mental capacity. And if that mind is not in equilibrium, the body will suffer as well. And right now we're being forced into situations by a nationwide scenario. So try to let go of what you cannot control. You know, there is so much that we can't control right now. So let's try and breathe that out and really let that go. I know it's harder said than done, but let's use the yoga mat as our practice for that nourishment tonight. So drop down into the body. And then second part of the practice, bringing that leg from that strong position and drawing it to external rotation. So bringing it out wide, and some of you will want to push through the earth, and some of you will have that leg bend. So moderate or increase your range, and then count the breath and maybe stay there for another 3 or 4 breath cycles. And if it helps to close your eyes and really internalize and come into some inner peace, then please do so. Because if you've looked at your screen all day, your eyes definitely need a rest. Sometimes it's good to let a sigh out through the mouth. So if you're noticing that your breath feels a little shallow, or maybe it's caught in the chest, in through nose, let it go out through the mouth. And again, notice if that exhalation lets you drop down. So I'm thinking it might be about now that you want to bring that leg back up to the sky. And maybe give it a little bend or re-straighten it. If your lower leg is pushing out through the earth, remember we're going to swap the belt into the right hand, reach up. If you don't have a belt and you are more experienced, your hand is coming on the outside edge of the foot, of course, or you're using from the index and second finger, you're using the peace mudra and you're drawing your leg into rotation. But remember, we're trying not to just roll over. So allow your practice to be mindful enough that you spread out through those arms. And as the left leg moves to the right, can you let the rib basket move over to the left and feel that lovely sense of oppositional action? You can also let the head draw down, looking down that left arm. So linger and savour the third part of your posture as you bring those legs into, at least bring that pelvis and spine into mild or strong rotation. And once again, let's melt the shoulders away from the ears. So remember, if you are holding the belt, I know legs are quite heavy, but try not to grip. So try not to create that white knuckle sensation around the gripping of the finger bones and the thumbs. And then inhale, exhale, a few more times. This posture is a beautiful posture for nourishment and nurturing. And you could just use this posture as a standalone home practice. Maybe you could be in each part of that pose for a minute or two. So that would be 3 movements. So say 3 or 6 minutes times 2 legs, 6 or 12 minutes, and there'd be a home practice for you, especially if your hamstrings are tight and you find that this pose does help them release. So I'm thinking that's maybe a good time to unfold from that rotation now. So remember, you're gathering your legs back into that midline. You might want to give them a little hug again, or I love to shake the legs out towards the sky and then push the heels away, point, flex and circle. And then as you bend the knees, cup the knees and creating those little frog's legs, so double hip circles, widen the thighs out. So they're floating in the sky and you've got this lovely space in the groins, and then bring the knees together and draw back. Allow that to happen. And if it's really comfortable for you to have the straighter legs, then offer those straight leg circles. But be warned, this will involve a lot of strength in the core. So as you draw the legs around your body, do make sure that you have enough center strength to control those circles enough. Do you know what I mean? So that you're not just sort of flailing the legs all over the place. So there's a little sense of alignment which comes through if you're using the straight leg. And I notice if I go too straight, I'm going to actually scrape the wall. So take care of your furniture if you've got a lot of furniture in the room you're practicing in. So soft hip circles, singles or doubles, bent or straight legs. And then let's bring the feet to mat. Make sure you've got enough space. It would be lovely to have 2 cushions or pillows here. And then let the knees fall apart into supine butterfly, and then give your legs a little rock side to side. And how has this affected your ribs? Has the pose caused a massive gap underneath the back ribs? Have your front ribs become very flary? And is that okay for you? Because it might be. And what I like to do for my body, because that happens to me as well, is press the soles of the feet together in the butterfly pose. Make sure you've got some support here on outer thighs. And push the feet together and lift the buttocks up. So it's like a wide angle bridge pose. And then lengthen your tail underneath you and roll the thighs open again. So give them a little massage and then press the feet together, tuck under, lift up like a bridge pose. You can push your arms down and then almost as if you're trying to set your body down in a softer way. And then a little bit more rocking and then stay here for another round of breath, or maybe 3 to 5 breaths. It can feel okay to raise your arms overhead and mirror the shape of the legs with your arms. So you have this fanning, and in fact I'm going to interlace the fingers and place them behind the base of the skull, and this helps to open out the chest muscles and open out the pectoralis. So if you like that version of supine butterfly, please find that now. So remember, the outer edges of the feet are touching. You are lying down in a warm and comfortable space, and you may have even chosen to bring your elbows outwards as well, or take the arms overhead. And let yourself enjoy those small sensations of discomfort that can happen when the legs are arranged in Baddha Konasana, the double bound angle pose. But if it's starting to feel tugging on your low back or unwelcome, then separate your feet and even bring the heels much further away from your pelvis. So you have more of that open diamond shape of the legs. Let yourself feel good about where you're at in your hips and your spine. And especially, can you befriend your breath again? Remember that when we send our awareness directly into our breathing, we are training the mind. And it's meditation in action. And supine butterfly pose is another classical restorative yoga pose. I think it's especially good for the evening time, and it's quite a lovely one to use before bed. But we won't stay here for 5 minutes or 2. What we'll do is begin to just gather those legs in kindly one at a time. And then reach both legs long down the mat. And if you are using your belt and you have a yoga belt, you might want to take hold of it now, if you have one, and just use it as a guide to bring your arms overhead and have a full body stretch. So reach toes away from fingers, flex feet. Inhale, exhale, and just really give yourself a little wiggle around if you want to. And hold that full body stretch for a few more breaths. And then once again, knees into chest and release up to sitting. And reach your legs out in front into Dandasana, the seated tree. Seated Dandasana, sorry, the seated staff pose. My mind is going ahead of me. And then we are going to use Janusashasana, which is, of course, like a seated tree pose. So slide your left heel into the perineum if you can, and then resit. It's absolutely fine to have that right leg angled out to the right if that feels good for your hips. Or classically, we bring that leg straight in front of the body. You know, I'm going to give the body a bit more space, so I'm going to let that right leg come out to the right. So arrange your seat accordingly. What we're actually going to do is rotate the torso. So sit super tall if you can. Let's inhale, exhale, and then turn left. So I'm actually moving towards the folded leg. I'm going to bring the arms around it. Look over the left shoulder. While keeping this extended leg there, remember some of you have got that leg more in a different angle towards the front of the body. And then come back to center. Notice, did you manage to keep your breath flowing, or did you pause and catch your breath and hold it? Let's inhale, exhale, and turn the other way. And then release back to center. And it's not uncommon to find just having to turn your body while being grounded through sitting. So that sense of the hips and the pelvis and the sit bones being kind of anchored and almost locked. It can feel that you haven't really rotated much in your day. So if that felt really stuck for you, then give your ribs a fast spiral like this. And then lean back and bring the legs into seated Baddha Konasana, and even lean back a bit more, even if it's a bit slumpish. Flare out the thighs. Perhaps sit tall and hold on to the feet, which we might want to open like a book. Inhale, exhale. And remember, the option was to be more of a diamond position, so the feet were apart and there was that sense of that diamond. So seated Baddha Konasana practitioners, tipping forward is really quite powerful and involves chest moving forward as the elbows draw into the inner thighs. And option, of course, is Tara Asana, just to bring that softer diamond shape and then to tuck in and fold forward. Once you're in your folded butterfly or Tara Asana, please inhale, exhale softly. Offer the best of that practice to yourself. And remember, we're trying to nourish. So your spine will be a little bit flexed, it will be a little bit rounded. That is absolutely fine. And then let's release back to sitting. Lean back, shake out the legs. I'm going to keep the left leg extended and fold the right heel into the perineum. And remember, you might want to resit. And then be able to sit well. Inhale, exhale, turn right. And that's turning towards the folded leg. It's like a seated tree pose. Look over the shoulder or maybe look down to the earth. And then centering. As I said, that leg can be a little bit out to the left or it can be in front of you. And then sit tall again and turn left. And look over your left shoulder. Use your arms to anchor you. Please use any of the options you already know that bring you to a stronger or a softer version of that pose. Essentially, lifting and turning is about our bodies trying to find that thoracic rotation. And then release back to center. Shake out both legs. Roll the hips and legs. And you can bend your knees and again just offer yourself a kind of seated, soft connection. So almost like a seated child's pose. Just bring yourself into that folded pose as you connect belly onto thighs and shift. And it's lovely to wrap your arms under the legs and give yourself a hug. But people who love Paschimottanasana, please push the heels away. Maybe take your belt. And from Dandasana, draw yourself into much stronger and deeper fold. Using the belt or, of course, just reaching hands around the feet and toes. So find that softer version with knees bent. Or classical Paschimottanasana, the east-west stretch, drawing that chest forward. And those of us that can feel it will get that sweet sensation in the backs of the thighs again. If we are here and we haven't managed to drop the body over the legs yet, that's fine. Remember, yoga is a journey, and much as that's a cliche, it's absolutely true. So draw body forward with powerful legs or let the feet and toes rest out. And then please gather your long sleeves. So get your sleeves back on, get your blankets ready, and choose to shake out whole body and come back to sit comfortably on your cushions or on your bolster or on your block, or to arrange your body back to earth in supine, Savasana or semi-supine. And we'll come to closing practice now. Now, since we're trying to think tonight about yielding and nurturing and nourishment, You might also wish to use your yoga belt to cover your eyes and block out the lighting in your room, but you've also got time to turn your lights off if you want to. Most importantly, if you've chosen to sit or lie down, best thing about being at home is you can cozy under the lovely soft blankets and you don't have to cart all your props to a venue. Closing your eyes if that feels appropriate to you now. And drop your shoulders. Maybe swallow and soften the inside of the mouth and let the tongue drop to the lower palate. As your shoulders drop, shift and melt, let that be an invitation for your arms, hands, fingers, thumbs and wrists to shake out and just drape down onto your lap or down onto the mat beside you. Breathe in and breathe out and let the exhalation soften, release you and welcome that sense of letting go. Melt the rib baskets down. Let the chest and the collarbones be softening. And especially spread your waist. Spread the front of the belly, the sides of the belly, the back of the waist. Feel the buttocks and the pelvis heavy. Can you surrender those heavy bones and let that area be softer and wider? And what is it that you cannot let go of? Can you address that now? So if you've got any secret areas of tension, it's so common for stress to be held in the gut area, but it's also the site of something like 70 trillion immune cells. So if you can befriend your breath and really let the belly and chest rise and fall as you breathe, especially if you're lying down, so much easier to let go of tension when you yield to Mother Earth. Let's travel around the groins and the pelvis. And soften the inner thighs, the outer thighs. Unlock the knee joints, especially if your legs are long. And release your heels, feet and toes. Let the legs just flop outwards. It's very hard to find pure silence or even a quiet room in an urban house. But you can also use those sounds around you as a form of awareness. And then start to draw back inwards to internal sounds. So you might hear a noise in your house. You might hear the street sounds or the distance of traffic. Gradually let that go. Let all those sounds be around you, but not taking you into a narrative or a long story about the sounds. Let's come back to the breath. The breath is your friend, and you can befriend it again. Let your whole body breathe. Let go of this yoga tonight. Let go of these poses. And simply be here with your body being nourished and nurtured as you return to your true self, lying here now or sitting here now. Have you noticed how your breathing is calmer already? Once again, checking around the face, softening the eyebrows, cheekbones, upper and lower jaw. Sighing away the stressors of the day. And now, as you mindfully, gently open your eyes, simply roll or turn your head left and right a few times, very calmly, very slowly. Once again, gather legs into chest or roll to your side and rest on your side for a moment. Making your way back to sitting in a safe way. If you were lying, if you're already sitting, of course, we can bring our palms into Namaste at the heart center. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me on Zoom tonight and for all of the months that you've been here supporting these Zoom yoga